We lost him again.
And he's back.
I'm
Jake's
back.
in the room. Hello, everybody. This is Rock and Stone coming to you live on a late night, a cold, wintry evening. We are back once again to talk Votann. This is episode 4. We're talking Votann and the meta. I am Tom of 6++. I've been playing a lot of Votann lately, so I've got lots to talk about, and I'm joined as ever by my wonderful duo of supporters from other teams, other wonderful teams. We've got the one and only James. How are you doing, James?
I'm very well, very well. Very cold in my shed.
It is cold. The shed must be pretty brutal. Have you got like a little heater?
I've got a little heater on. I was a little bit worried it might make too much noise, but it seems to be all right.
That's good. That's good. And is there anything new? What have you been up to, James?
Not too much. We, in terms of playing, not too much. But we did host our Winter GT
Yes, you did.
this last weekend.
Yes, you did.
You so kindly attended.
Yes, that was fun. I enjoyed it.
Which is really good fun. I've been getting a few games down at the club with Votann. Played a really interesting game where good friend, and he also goes to the same club, Don Maidlow, ran Manny's list that won the Warhammer Championship thing.
Oh, interesting.
He was running CSM, kind of all the accursed, all the scary stuff. Not Forge Fiends, only one.
Okay.
Which was fine. So that was a really good game. And then played a little bit more, and then I'm just prepping for the next RTT this coming Saturday.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, well, we'll talk about that. I'd be interested to hear how you got on into the Manny CSM list, and obviously a player of Dom's caliber, so that's useful. And yeah, the Hearts GT was awesome. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. I really, really enjoyed it. I think you guys put on a really mean event, so I think people should all go to those whenever they happen. The venue is awesome. It's really nice, well-lit, beautiful room in the Eric Morecambe Centre in Harpenden. It's quite posh, actually. It's quite a posh event, I would say.
Nice.
The high life. Fancy. I was surprised there weren't like entrees when I came in. It was that kind of situation.
I'll make a note for next time.
Yeah, that'd be good. I think that'd be good to have. And I'm also joined, of course, by the wonderful Jake of Vanguard Tactics. Jake, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. I think I'm the complete opposite to you because I've been going to related events but haven't played Votann at all.
No, you have not.
You know what? We started doing this podcast and I just stopped playing Votann.
Do you think this meets all of your needs and you don't actually need to play them now? You're just happy talking about it?
Yeah, I think my love for them is now I'm living my Votann life through you two.
Yeah,
and then it's allowing me to then go play whatever else. But nah, all good. I do actually plan on. I am tempted to take my Votann to Beachhead next year.
Oh, sweet.
Looking towards 2024, and there's a few practice events in my local area for that coming up. So. Once Leicester's out of the way this weekend, I probably am looking at getting back on the old Votann.
Wonderful.
Beachhead's also a very good tournament.
I really like Beachhead. Yeah, it's
Beachhead's the best, mate.
Always extremely good.
I will say a little thing as well. If people are interested in going to Beachhead, I say get your tickets now because on the 16th of December they're going up by like a tenner or something. So
okay,
not massive, but
moment every year, right?
Yeah, Adam. I know Adam would also appreciate me saying it, considering, he's been messaging me enough to do it on VT, so might as well do it here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's for the South Coast. I think there's nothing quite like it. It's in Bournemouth, isn't it? It's really, really good.
Yeah, literally on the seafront. It's amazing.
Yeah. One of those ones where again the terrain's a little different. It's not like straight up UKTC, but really good terrain. Very strong caliber of player. Really nice venue. It's got a convention going on down there. There's a bunch of madmen that bring their Imperial Knights, like full scale, like not full scale, but like big scaled up Imperial Knights.
It's amazing. They literally bring Titans and play a full size Titanicus game with thousands of pounds of Forge World.
Absolute mad lads. Absolute mad lads.
Look, so if you do go to Beachhead, definitely check that out.
Yeah, do. It's one of those ones. Try and get beaten or win really early, so you can wander around the convention. Is my advice. The more time you get in there, the better. It's really, really good. Cool.
100% agree.
So we're going to be talking some general stuff today. We've got some thoughts on Votann and the meta because obviously we've got a lot more information about the meta post data slate now. We can see where Votann is sitting, and they're sitting pretty high. So I think it's good thinking about that. Why might that be? What might need to change? Then I'm going to run through the Hearts GT and some of the learnings from those games, and James is going to talk about his showdown with Don Maidlow that he's had. Going to do a lore segment towards the end, and then we're going to finish by, I think, if you're looking to join the kin, get involved in the Votann life right now, what might you need? So we'll think about that as well. But first up, Votann and the meta. We've had a MetaWatch article. What did it say about Votann, boys? Where did Votann end up in this extremely important GW Votann ranking?
They're not in the red.
They're not in the red, are they?
No, they're not in the red.
25% or whatever anymore.
They are a whisker.
They're kind of like they're very, very good. But you're like, well, no, it's only 55%.
Yeah.
I think there is actually there's definitely a lot of positives to take away from the MetaWatch article as a whole for the game. Considering there was only one army in the red for being really good and one army in the red for being really bad, by win rate, of course.
Yeah.
But Votann is second in the list. And I think I'd probably say rightly so. I think a lot of that's probably down to maybe them being a niche army, obviously being very good as well.
Yeah.
Like you have yourself and Tom and James who have been doing very well with them at events, putting up really good results. And I do think, obviously, like we did discuss in our little Facebook chat, they do play well into a lot of the big bads as well.
They do.
Which is great. Other than really Eldar. But then Eldar do very well into everyone. So
that's it.
I did play Votann. I played against Votann at the team event I went to that you were at with Eldar, and it was like, but that's no surprise, is it really, with Eldar?
They run rings around them, as we'll talk about, because I played them at the weekend, and it's one of those ones where they have a pretty good game into most of the field. I think they obviously are stronger, just demonstrably stronger than a lot of the field as well, and you can see that in the win rate. 55 is obviously, it's not broken, but it is strong.
I think one thing I took, you take from it is that they want this 45 to 55% kind of Goldilocks zone. Mm-hmm. We're right at the top of that. Yeah. So it's almost too much, but we are within that zone.
Yeah.
So whether anything significant happens, not sure.
It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So I think if we think about why it is, I think you've got an army that currently has a lot of stuff, shoots real hard, can fight actually very well. I think it's one of the good combat armies in the game. It has some really nice high quality melee, has great strats. It's got a lot of the right tools you need to play and score in 10th. It's not massively complex, it's not massively janky, but it's got all of the right tricks in the right places to give you things if you do want to play the game as it's currently set up.
I think that's a really good point, because I think you can actually build Votann to do fixed quite well.
Exactly.
And they do tactical quite well anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're very well set up to do both of those things. And then I just think in terms of actual weapons profiles, they're just one of those armies that actually in the guns has an answer to most kinds of things. And I think that's the big thing. There are a couple of things they do struggle with, but they have a lot of good tools for dealing with enemy units and enemy armies. And I think as well, the ability to just put +1 to hit and wound on all the good toys that your opponent has is extremely good, and just means certain armies just walk into them and just get absolutely annihilated. So I think that's interesting, isn't it? And I guess I'm curious what you guys think in terms of if we're assuming that the data slate that will come, if we assume that that's going to rein in a few of the armies that have sort of been identified as being a problem, I think Eldar would be one. I think for all the stats, I think we know Chaos Space Marines need something as well. And that's where, again, maybe the MetaWatch article stats don't help us as much, because actually sometimes these stats hide, lists within factions.
Well, I think this is the thing, like, I would say bar the kind of main Eldar list we're seeing at the moment, CSM have about 3 or 4 very, very strong lists.
Yeah.
And if you don't hit them in the right way, CSM will still be very, very strong.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. I think the thing with Chaos Marines is that, like, if you actually look at it, like, win rate, all that type of thing, but like if you actually look at like podium positions at major events, like they won the LGT and they won
the Warhammer Championships.
And did they win Coventry?
Sisters won Coventry.
Sisters by
Yes.
Coventry. Right. So like if we look at like it from the point of view of like what we have here, then yeah, Space Marines definitely need a change. Eldar need a change. I think for Votann, it's an odd one because you can't put them back to where they were,
Yeah.
and you can't. For me, I would probably say maybe like looking at how many judgment tokens you give out potentially
Yep.
would be a fix, and then maybe upping the Sagittar points, but I don't
Those are
know
kind of
whether
the
it
two
makes.
that would immediately jump out to me. What do you think, James?
So I actually think, generally, I think the points are fine.
Okay.
Because if you start increasing too many things to, like, you basically fall into one list. I think what's really good with Votann at the moment, and what feels really good, you can take every unit and be fine.
Yeah.
If you nerf the
That is a
Sagittars,
nice position.
you then just drop all your Sagittars and go back to just running forts
Yeah.
and other stuff. I think the judgment tokens need sorting. I mean, we said
Yeah.
this when the data slate came out. I was like, the biggest thing was the 4 judgment tokens. I'm still the biggest thing is the 4 judgment tokens.
Okay.
How many would you give them?
Yeah.
Two?
What's the right amount?
So
I think two.
I think 2 sets of 2, but I think you should be able to. You should still give out 4, but you give out 4 1 tokens. So
Okay, I like that.
Interesting.
Okay.
You could give 2 units 2. You could give 4 units 1, or you could give 1 unit 2 and 2 units 1.
I like that. I
That's
really like
quite
that.
nice. I think that's nice because that's flexible for the sort of different situations. Like if it's the one big hard target, you can get that. If it's actually, but it gives you flexibility into like a chaffier army where actually just being able to hit better is probably the best thing. But it is also halving the overall, boost in power.
But it also gives a bit of play around the opponent not letting you get that CP so soon.
Yes.
When you put 4 sets of 2 on 4 things, you're pretty much going to get 3 CP. Most of the time, you're going to at least get 2.
Yeah.
Maybe giving the opponent a bit more play with that might turn them down a bit.
For sure. I think the thing with changing that and tweaking that would be a positive as well is that it would make enhancements more relevant again, which again actually serves to slightly nibble the points of the list. Because if people are like, I actually need to have a praising glare, I need to have an objective each turn where I can have extra judgment, which to be honest, I just don't feel like I need at the moment really when I'm playing the game. I think if things like that are relevant, then again, you are just slightly eating into the spam all the best units possibilities. So I do think maybe adjusting that would be the way to go. But I'll be curious to see if they are in the mood to immediately roll back rules changes, having made rules changes.
I think if you hit them both rules wise and points wise, we're not far off.
This is my fear with GW is always that when they do nerf, they go for the sort of double, triple nerf, and sometimes it just puts factions back in the ground. And I think that would be very sad for Votann, given both the interest that they've generated now, because people are actually quite keen on them and enjoying them. I think it would be sad remembering where the faction was, where it was functionally unusable 3 months ago. That would be a waste.
I am fine with them doing that to Eldar. So I don't think honestly, just take them out of the game. Like I played them for 15 games over 2 weeks, lost 3 games, one of which to Boris. They
are crazy. They are crazy good, and I think that is the thing with Votann, where it's like you do have to be alive to. Well, if you do take Eldar down seriously, what bad matchups do remain, and you do want to make sure they don't. You always have to be watching that ones just below. It felt like in the last slate they actually did the factions that were hovering underneath better than Eldar, right? They dealt with those much more effectively. They saw off Custodes and Thousand Sons and GSC very effectively.
It was good fun.
Eldar's at the top after.
My assumption is that Eldar surely go at this point, and which is as we've just said, Eldar's the worst matchup for Votann, really. And if they're not there, then you do need to make sure Votann can't just walk through other things. I just think Marines and a few other things probably do give Votann a good game, and obviously we've got Necrons and Abmech dropping.
Marines are hard, right? Because Votann have got some very, very good guns into Marines.
Yes,
really, really, especially with the +1 to wound.
Yeah,
I played the 12 Plasma Receptor list and killed all of them pretty much the turn they came down.
Which is good.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
And if Marines I think Marines are going to do very well, and we're starting to see people find the right lists, and I'm going to be curious to see whether those lists do very well into Votann.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'll be interested to see as well. I think there's definitely some play there, and I think they definitely do have tools that hurt Votann. I haven't had a game into Marines that has felt easy for Votann, but as you say, I do feel like I always have the tools to hurt them.
Yeah.
Once you've got Berserks in, and once you've got good AP shooting in. James Shapiro says Votann not good into 2-up save Marines. That is true. That has always been.
I do, yeah.
Well, you do have Hawkeye and you do have Berserks. So.
Yeah,
yeah,
that 2-up
you've
save
got
Armor of Contempt is definitely an issue. Has definitely been an issue.
Yeah, you do have things around it.
Is an issue too.
Yeah.
So Marines do have those things, but it's interesting. Needs again. It's only just really appeared, and I don't really feel like Marines players have figured out the book yet. I feel like it's still got quite a long way to travel. But we're going to
that
get
book
more
is very
information at
deep.
Leicester. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think people, obviously Ironstorm's got a lot going on, but once you add the layer of, are you going to do Dark Angels or Blood Angels or Space Wolves on top of which detachment you're using, there's a lot of different ways you can slice it. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that plays out. I just hope they get it right. I'm enjoying playing Votann. I'd quite like to keep playing them. I don't want them to bonk them on the head so hard that then every game's an uphill struggle.
I'm loving it so much, I might continue playing them when Necron's Codex comes out.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, that is a big statement. Oh, my.
Huge decision.
And the Cron book's well cool as well.
It does look good.
I know, I was reading it all yesterday. I was like, oh.
It's a very exciting book. Yeah, the Necrons one definitely looks good. I've not heard much positive about Admech yet, but I've not read it. So
I do like the Admech book.
Cool.
Personally, and I get to use it tomorrow, so I'm quite excited.
Oh, wonderful! Very exciting. Yeah. Is that on the channel?
Yep, that is. Give a little plug. 7 p.m. Vanguard Tactics.
Absolutely.
I'll be playing Admech, and Steve's back after all of his time off after the World Championships, etc. And he'll be using Necrons. So you've got some cool.
Definitely watch that.
Very, very cool.
It'll be good fun. It'll be good fun.
Do you know what detachment from Necron Steve likes to look
He, I believe, is going the Canoptic one. I could be wrong.
That makes a lot of sense. I think the Canoptic one is very good.
It's that or the Hyperphase.
Hyperclass.
I'm going the
really fun.
Yeah, I'm going the Explorator Maniple.
Okay.
So
nice.
Like special picker super objective and do fun stuff. So yeah, it'll be super cool. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. And then James, when you then realise you still love Votann, it was all good.
It's going to be hard. I'm really torn.
That is a tough choice. That's a tough choice.
I've got like the monoliths, all the warriors, all the immortals. Like I've got them all. So
that's interesting.
You've got the good stuff. It's the wraiths as well. But
I've got all of them in the cabinet.
Yeah,
so I've got all the models, and this is where it's like, whereas I didn't have all the Lich Guard and all the Ghost Arcs for the kind of index list, which was like another excuse to not play Necrons again.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens, isn't it? When you collect an army, and sometimes the new rule set comes, you're just like, I would actually just have to basically buy another army to have this. So actually, I'm just going to let this particular version can pass me by.
I'll allow it.
Not going to happen with Votann because if you have all the Votann, then you have the army at the moment. It's going to be a while till they can it'll be the next wave, won't it? But yeah, I think I definitely fall down on Votann needing some adjustment. I don't want it to be crazy. I want to be a little bit careful with it. There's nothing I think needs drops. I think everything's now at a point where, I can see the value in it at the price it currently exists. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. But I think again, if you added 100 points to the army, I wouldn't feel terrible about it.
Not at all, no.
If you go 150, 200, 250, I don't think you're in a bad place.
No, exactly. Because as we're about to discuss, I did very well at a GT pissing around with a magic wizard that was basically like extra points, right? You're like, this is a fun thing to have. And if you take 100 points out, I'm like, okay, this guy's silly. I don't really need him. It's just fun to have.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is the stuff you drop is is just the crappy stuff normally. It's I've just put that in because I had so many points or XYZ.
Yeah.
So no,
and I do always feel like I do have a bit of flex in the Votann list and maybe a little bit too much flex. So I think that's totally valid. I'd say if you were looking to rise units up, I think Sagittars I would look at. I think Hearthguard I would consider. back to their original points, and then maybe Thunderkin like up 5 or something.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think Thunderkin up 5, maybe even Bikes up 5, and then
Yeah, Bikes up would be reasonable.
yeah.
They're very
and then
good.
Hearthguard can go back to normal because they were already a bargain.
They
at
were
their
already
cost.
so good.
So yeah,
And I'm gonna resist the urge to say Berserk should get cheaper, because I think Berserks are probably coming in all right at 100 points, as much as I'd like to.
they're all right, aren't they?
I'd love it if they did something
We're gonna-
stupid and took it
We're
down.
going to find out, aren't we?
Yeah, we are going to find out. We're going to talk about
Yeah.
Berserks. Let's do it. So we'll move to Hearts GT. We'll talk a little bit about my games there and what we learn about kind of voting on the matchup there. So I went to James's Winter GT. Toys of Mass Destruction ran it. It's in Harpenden. It was amazing. Really, really good time. And this was 5 games using sort of terrain that was quite interesting. It was like UKTC, but with some crates sort of added in that give it a kind of blocking dimension in bits of the midboard, so it's not actually as easy to just fly around if you're infantry and get everywhere, which I thought added a lot. I thought it was a really nice, interesting terrain set that made all the games really interesting. I had to kind of adapt on the fly a little bit. And I had a nice surprise when I arrived, because I was initially paired into Chaos Knights. I saw Chaos Knights and I was like, okay, Chaos Knights is kind of fine, like Judgment, kill them all, that sort of thing. And then I got there about 5 minutes before round start, and there'd been some repairing done because there'd been drops and stuff. And I was matched into Clement of Dice down on his Eldari instead,
Oh my!
which is quite the round one. And I was looking at the event going in, and I'd identified kind of like 3 players. I was like, well, if you're going to place well, you need to be able to beat these 3. And Clement was definitely one. I think James Grover with his Necrons was one, and then Liam Calibut was there on his Custodians. I was looking at those 3 and going, I mean, you're going to play some combination of those at some point in order to do well at this.
Do you love Liam as well?
Yeah, this is the first time I got to chat to him at an event. I really liked him. He was lovely.
Yeah.
He was having fun.
He came third as well.
He did come third. Yeah, we were
He's-
really. It was really just battle points between us for the top placing.
He's my boy, so good to see that.
Yeah, no, he's great, and obviously it was nice to see him trying something different as well with Custodians, so that was cool. And so Clement on the Eldari, this was long waysy deployment. It was just take and hold, so just hold 1, hold 2, hold 3, lots of objectives in the middle, and Clement went first and did incarn things. I almost got away with it because he used warp spiders and 2 night spinners. He needed to pop a Sagittar in order to eat the incarn, and it came down to like the last save on it, and it just died. And I was like, if I can just be alive on that flag, there's no incarn there, I can get going, get moving, and then I can deal with it next time. Unfortunately, it did manage to get in and start making a mess, and it was a good game. I killed the incarn pretty happily, and then we just scrapped over the flanks. But I think Clement had his Wraithguard, and it was just I think Votann really struggled to deal with Wraithguard in any meaningful way. They can walk into an area, split fire, and kill like 3 units very, very happily with the guns that they have. So I thought I did quite well avoiding them for half the game, and then when they actually did get their teeth in, they just murdered stuff. So there were a few things back and forth with the scoring, but Clement won that fairly happily. It was like 30 points in it in the end, so he did sort of walked away by the end of the game because he just murdered me so much that I couldn't like go and get some points with the end game swing, which was a bit sad. But he's really nice. I'd never played him before. He's been at events a lot. I've seen him around a lot. He's a really good player.
Yeah,
He's very good.
yeah. I played him at last year's ITT.
Yeah,
and he was probably one of my funnest games. He absolutely pushed my poo in, but he was lovely guy.
Yeah, very technically good. He had 2 boats of Harlequins in this list, and he uses all that sort of stuff really, really well. So I definitely learned a lot. It was very nice to play him. So that was good, but that kind of puts you in that position where you're like, I've lost round 1, so now I just have to basically pull my sort of straps up and just absolutely chew through the rest of the games, or it's going to end up being sort of 3-2 or even worse. And second round, what did I get? I got Ironstorm Blood Angels.
Oh, exciting.
So here we go. So this is it. Death Company, the Big Brick, Lamarties. I can't remember if it's double or triple Whirlwind. There were definitely Whirlwinds. There were Baal Predators, which is quite interesting for some Overwatch action. There were, I think, a couple of standard Predators, the Destructors, and then it was real tank car park vibes. Didn't want Dreadnoughts, and he didn't have as many infantry. He had some scouts and some Inceptors and those kinds of things. The main thing I remember about this game was just that I was so hangry I couldn't function, because me and Davey, who was also there, shout out to Davey, love you, had tried to go and get lunch, and we'd ordered at a pub, and they took the entire hour, and then we were like, we've got to go and play Nerdy Toys, so we just didn't have any lunch. And I was trying to play Warhammer on no food because I hadn't had breakfast, and my brain was just going, oh, you hate everyone now. And I was like, okay, that's good. That's good. That's a really good context. And we were on Purge the Foe for this one, which helped me a lot, I think, because it was endgame. You know, it's endgame scoring is good. If you're going second, you know what you need to get the kill more, that sort of thing. And the big moments in this were basically just that the guy I was playing couldn't really figure out where to stage his death company. And I'd like to thank the crates for this, because the crates made life complicated. It's like, there's not just you can just run around the board going wherever you like. There's bits of it that they're just not going to actually get around and be able to activate. Yeah. So he kind of struggled a bit with that, and he sent them one way, and then he tried to deploy them on one side. Then he brought them back towards the middle, thinking I'll stage centrally. And I'd just parked my land fort with 5 Hearthguard and the Iron here behind my equivalent one in the centre. And he'd been being really precise. He was very worried about the Berserks, keeping an eye on the Berserks. But there's just my little Hearthguard brick in there, and he didn't seem to respect it. So they just ran into the Death Company. And I was sort of like, I'm pretty sure they don't kill all of this because of all of the buffs defensively. But I was like, if I can kill enough of them that then I can clean them up next time, I'm happy enough with that, to be honest, because that's all of the kind of melee output in them. Yeah. So I think I killed 6 or 7 Death Company. And then I think the remainder killed everyone in that squad that wasn't the champ, because they're so angry.
They're amazing.
So dangerous. And then just about managed to clean up the rest of the squad in the next turn. And then basically my tanks were just out shooting the various predators and things around the edges of the board, and I just about got away with it. Oh, we also had the Gladiator Reaper. That's very good in Ironstall. That's quite scary.
I do like those.
And he had some other tank. Oh, a Vindicator. It was a weird list. Lots of tanks. But yeah, good game. Just about one. I think it was like 193, because Purge is a very weird scoring mission. And then we had Drakari. James Blake on Drakari. Lovely boy. Played it very well. Everything died. I mean, James, you saw some of this game.
It was obviously, TOing, walking around, just making sure things go. I came over in turn 2, and I would say 70% of both of their lists were dead.
Yeah.
Oh my jeez.
Yeah.
I was like, so is this like turn? No. This is the end of turn 2.
Yeah.
Just speed running it.
I don't think either of us. Yeah, you asked this. I don't think either of us could believe it either. It was Scorched Earth. It was 6 objectives, and I went first. And Drakari just have so many units. They've got loads of stuff. They've got loads of Dark Lances. They've actually got Haywire Talos, which are quite good for killing Votann, right? They'll pop forts. They'll pop Sagittars. So I was like, I think I basically have to just run at him and push him into his deployment zone and just get completely murdered, but fight the whole game there, because then I can score cards because I'll be in the right bits of the board. And it'll be harder for him to do so. And also, these Drakari are fragile. So if you actually push into them, they don't like that very much. And so did that, and I killed some Talos and managed to pick up most of his Mandrakes in the midboard with Bikers. That was one thing I was testing for this event, actually. So I was testing Space Gandalf, so that's a Grimnir with Wayfarer's Grace. So he walks on, he shoots a bit. If you kill him, he's going to get back up, or maybe. I don't know. He's not rolled a 1 for me yet. I'm very pleased with him so far. And I was also testing a 6-man of the Pioneers. And the idea being that in certain matchups where it's like, I need to go first and make pressure, you just shove 6 Pioneers at them really quickly, because those are really fast and they can get up the board. And in this matchup, it was great because they flew up one side and just killed all his Mandrake. So that's just like all his screening and scoring and chaff at the front gone. And then they get killed, but that's okay. That's kind of how that works. But he just annihilated me in return in his turn 1. Like, he blew up the land fort. He killed, I think, 2 Sagittars. All the bikes went. I was like, okay, this is going to be really violent and horrible. And it was.
There was the Scourgers with the plunging fire.
That was the crucial thing. Yeah. So Scourge, Dark Lance, top of a building. Suddenly it's AP4. I've played Drakari before, and it's been like AP3, I don't mind with a land fort, because you have cover, you've got void armor, then you're saving them on 3-ups. You're okay. He got his Scourge shooting down, and then I failed 3 4-ups, and I was like, I don't want to do that on Dark Lances, because it's like 15 damage or something I took, and you're like, oh my word. I was quite impressed with James. I thought James was a very tidy player.
Honestly, he plays them really, really well. I think he came 27th at the LGT.
Really?
which is
That's
On
really
Jakari,
good.
that's
Oh
impressive
my.
as hell. Yeah, no, I was very impressed with him. I thought he was lovely to play, but like very sharp and like again, we were both playing it so aggressively and just killing each other
Yeah.
so hard. So it was really
and,
fun.
and the poor guy. So he's just gone into round 3 with Votann. His round 2 was Clement on his Aldari.
Oh
He
my.
had a miserable run. I mean,
Yeah, he did. He didn't have the luck
He's,
of it.
to be fair, like I will say this about Drukari, like I know obviously everybody goes on about like win rates of them or all that, but like whenever I see something on Facebook or Instagram or something, it's normally like Scary or George or like somebody's won
Oh
an
yeah.
event with
yeah,
Drukari and they
I
podium.
I firmly believe that all the people who can play Jakari are
Yeah.
very capable of doing very well with it in its current form, which is why I'm really excited to see what they do to it
Oh
in
yeah.
January.
If they get a Votann treatment, oh boy.
Yeah, I was saying because I love mine. I'd say I've not really used them this edition. I've played them casually in little events and stuff, but I've never been like this is bad. I've been like it's not especially interesting. But it is very good at certain things, and also again the way the meta's changing, I think actually quite suits Drakari. It's tons of Marines right now. It's Death Guard, World Eaters, CSM. They have brilliant guns for killing Marines. I think what they need is buffs to their melee so that their melee can realistically actually hurt something that's armored, because at the moment it can't. I think if they can do that, then not only do the lists get more interesting,
I'd like
but
to
their
see
ability to
like,
hang with the other armies gets much higher.
yeah, I'd like to see like I don't know, maybe like a change to pain tokens because I remember I was quite excited about Jakari when the indexes came out and then like actually sort of got a game in with the studio army and just was not like I was not
No,
impressed.
no, I
Um,
liked it on paper too, but
yeah,
I found a lot of aspects of it quite limited, and
yeah,
I think pain tokens was a sort of mechanic and economy works great. I think they need to find a way to make it interact with the combat a bit better.
yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
like a bit more reactive rather than plan it all out. You know, like because you have to
yeah,
use them at the start of phase. Like
yeah.
maybe if it was just like this unit fights, okay, I'll activate this and do all
Completely.
that. So
One thing we definitely discussed at Goonhammer was like maybe you could give them, if you spend 2 in the fight phase, you can reroll your wounds as well. That might be
yeah,
something that helps a little melee unit actually trade up into things. Some people were talking about extra AP. I'm wary of that because I
yeah.
kind of
it's a
I don't.
slippy slope.
You just have to not get to the point where they can just all their units can kill God again, because that was the problem last time, and you need to not have that. But I think maybe spend 2 and get reroll hits and wounds just means those like premier combat units like your Drazar or your Lilith, when they do go in, you can expect them to actually hurt something. I think that would be quite useful. But we'll see.
I like
We'll
that.
see what they do. I don't really want points drops on Jakari. They already get so much stuff.
It's so honestly, you
So
look at
much
his
stuff.
list. It's just this.
And this was the issue. We were talking about it afterwards. I think if James goes first, that he does the exact same thing. Like he flies in, he tags everything. I spend the whole game fighting in my deployment zone. I think he probably wins that game, to be honest. I don't think it's a bad matchup for Drakari at all. I think especially if you have Talos, I'd probably be running 4 or 6 Talos, I think, at the moment, because 6 Talos shooting haywire at Votann, I think you could kill every Sagittar on the board in like a Sagittar heavy army in a turn of shooting with that, because flat damage 3 mortals against vehicles, unbelievable. Yeah, so that's something I do want to get the murder crabs back out at some point. But yeah, that was a great game, and that was day 1. And then I went straight to sleep because I'm knackered because Termin's been busy as hell, so I didn't do anything in the Saturday evening. Got there the next morning, and I'd been paired into my boss. It was James Grover of Warhammer, of Goonhammer, not Warhammer, although he is of Warhammer too.
It's
the
the
wings.
man.
Yeah, and he had a hero Necron list. He had a monolith. He had Lichguard. He had warriors. He had flayed ones, a couple of little packs of flayed ones. He had some Ophidians. He had Imhotep the Stormlord running around
with the
new model, which was beautiful.
I was gonna say, like 10 a.m. James is like, "Oh, let's just swap these two."
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. He literally had his old one there with him, and then when he was allowed, he swapped it over.
Joe walked over and was like, "Oh, how are you going? Have you got any of the new models?" And he was like, "What time is it?" It was like 10:05. He was like, "Give me a sec."
Oh yeah, no, it's fun. I remember Steve wanted to do that, something similar at LGT with assault intercessors with jump packs. So he wanted to take like assault marines with him, and then removing 10 o'clock kits, he wanted to swap them.
Yeah, so good. It's like cracking open a pint on holiday, but here's your new models instead. It's time.
Well, it's 10 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah. James abided by all the laws. Games Workshop, as he always does. Don't you worry, he's very well behaved.
No, he is very good.
We had a very good game, actually, and there was a few very silly moments in this. So again, I went first, and it was on vital ground, which really means it's just a big primary slog, and it's going to be like the Necrons are going to try and shove their bricks on points. I'm going to try and kill them. Votann are quite good at killing Necrons in the main, but the Monolith made it a bit interesting because the Monolith shoots really well, and it's going to take all of the big guns to get through it. But I had a turn where I shoved the 6-pack of bikers onto the objective he'd like to put his 20 warriors on, just to make that inconvenient, rather than he had the veil, so he could have just teleported them all on and strung them out and other things. So that meant he never got to use the veil, really. The warriors just had to get involved and sort of push up the board in normal ways because I was screening all the rest. And then I had a turn. He killed a Sagittar with the Monolith. He was pushing the Lich Guard up one side. And there's two big moments in the game. There's one, I send some Berserks and I line up a load of guns to go and kill the Monolith. The Monolith decides it's not making any saves. A conversion beam of land fort does 12 damage to it with its big gun on its own. I think the total damage from the land fort alone was about 16 or 18 wounds. It just doesn't make saves.
That shouldn't happen.
The ignore cover absolutely did it over.
I love it.
Absolutely horrific. Like bolt cannon and conversion people just absolutely going off. So it basically, long story short, it dies in the shooting phase, which means I've got all these berserks that have got out just sat in the middle, sort of like, oh, we were going to hit that with hammers. Now what we're going to do? So they end up mostly dying for not very much and getting hurt. So that's not great for me because I've lost some of my push. But there's another big moment. The Lich Guard are coming up one side. And the issue I've got is I want to get my Hearthguard into his warriors and take the right side because Hearthguard are good at doing that. But it's because he's played it quite well and sort of choked me on that left-hand side. It looks like I don't really know if I'm going to be able to actually stop the Lich Guard getting up that side because there's no Berserks to kind of hold them up. But there's a moment where his Lich Guard go into my little baby Hearthguard brick that I've got. And we realise as he's gone, he's run out of CP, so he doesn't have Res a character. So I challenge with Warrior Pride, and the Hammer Champ just absolutely destroys the little guy that's got the 5-up Feel No Pain. And then suddenly all the bolt cannons that are shooting the Lich Guard in the next couple of turns are just so much better. Like they wouldn't be doing anything if the buffs are still on there, but because it's just fail to save, you're dead. It suddenly they just fall over to sort of Sagittar shooting and Landfort shooting. So that's a big moment in the game. And then gradually we kind of push through. And obviously because it's vital ground, because I managed to get to the middle, there's a very funny moment towards the end where he basically is like, I think to actually claw back points, I need to just send my command barge and Illuminor Saras to just go and take your backfield objective. And they start running. I shoot the whole army at them. I don't do anything. Like Saras is so tough. He's unbelievably durable. And it's tight, but I just about managed to stop them before they get to the end. So that makes it a decent win. And then final game is very straightforward. I play lovely Matt Wright. He's a local guy to us. Really nice man. He plays guard. And he had a really good guard list with lots of chimeras and troops and mission play and some artillery. But then he's got a Doom Hammer. Big old Baneblade. With a bunch of autocannon dudes in it. It's super cool. He's won 3 games with it already. He's a good player, Matt, as well. And he told me at the start of the game, it's not died all event. And I'm like, oh.
That's the worst thing you could say about a model ever. Because then you're like, I want to do it.
I know, that's it. So that tempts
like, here's 2 tokens for you.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's the thing with it, right? And I was also like, how have you found Votann into guard? Because I've played it a few times, and I feel like they both hurt each other pretty well. And he was like, to be honest, I just kind of outrange you, and you don't worry me that much. Like, okay.
Another thing you don't want to say.
Okay. He puts the Baneblade up one side very aggressively. At which point it's like, okay, well, you've invited me to nibble, so I'm going to nibble. And I draw Assassinate turn 1, and there's a Tech Priest behind it, and I just point at it and go, I'm going to blow that up, and it's going to kill him. And I send some guys in. But actually, I have a really rough turn on certain things. Like I do grenade, I do 1 mortal wound. There's a couple of other things that really bounce. And it's looking quite peaky as to whether I'll manage to kill it. But I just about kill it. It's very close. Just about take the Baneblade down turn 1. And it does explode, and it does kill the Tech Priest. And it's wonderful.
Aww.
Good time. It's so funny. Yeah. So it's a turn 1 Assassinate.
It did a load of wounds to everything else as well.
It blew up like half my Hearthguard. It blew up a bunch of other tanks. It put an absolute hole. And all credit to Matt. He then played. I think he scored like 70-something points from that start point. So he played extremely well for the rest of the game. And I think we were just talking about it. It was like, yeah, just don't invite me to try and kill the Baneblade. There was no need. Like, hold it back, shoot me to shit, and then come out later.
Just don't tell me it hasn't died.
And yeah, that too, because I can't resist.
Because all I then sit there and think to myself is like, because I had that on the weekend with Mike Casello. He said we played each other round 2. And he was like, "Oh, well, no one's killed the Land Raider and the 2 repulsors, so like I doubt you will." First thing I do, I'm like, "Right, they're dying, mate." turn 4 rolls around. Oh, Michael, it seems you don't have your big tanks on the table anymore.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? It definitely does change things. But I think because I'm one of those players, I'm quite averse to trying to kill the big durable thing. That's something I've always historically my brain just goes, kill everything else, play around it.
Yeah.
But what I'm enjoying with Votann is it's like their whole rule set is designed to be like, no, don't do that. Kill the big thing. Kill the big stupid thing.
You can kill the big thing.
Yeah, exactly. You can. You've got good tools. So it's kind of retraining me to be like, remove the big threats and then play that way, which is an interesting sort of reverse to how I normally like to do things. And I think that meant then, so it was Clement won the event, smashed everybody, and he did me a favour by smashing the other Eldar player in the final round. I was looking at the points, I was like, oh, what I need is Clement to just eviscerate this other Eldar player, and then maybe we'll sneak in. And he obliged. He went second in that as well. Second in the Eldar Mirror, still absolutely smashed it.
Big deal.
And then I got second with the Votann, and then Liam on his Custodies got third.
Nice.
So it was a good showing, and it was fun, and I think it kind of maps to what we've already been saying, right? The judgment is so powerful into big things, like a Monolith or a Baneblade. We've got a bunch of good matchups. I think Necrons is a good matchup. I don't think Guard's a bad matchup. I think we've got great things for opening tanks and killing lots of little bodies. Things like Drukhari, you just hoover through. Although, actually, I did think the Drukhari matchup was closer. And I played Paulie Wallace of Real Space Raiders, and that was a close game too. So that one feels like one where actually they've got a lot of tools for us.
Well, I mean, just the fact you had like 8 models left on the board.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah, 100%. And of the stuff I was testing, the 6 of bikes I quite liked. I thought that was quite fun. It was quite fun shoving that in the games where you're like, it's those games where you go first and you can't play so passively and you're like, how do I make stuff happen? James and I were talking about it because they do die, right? They absolutely do die.
Yeah.
But the thing about them is they do require a certain kind of effort and volume to get rid of. And if you are jamming and getting forwards, your opponent can't like trivially kill those. Sometimes they can, depends a bit on the list, but you can't like trivially remove them. So they are going to have to commit stuff to it, which frees up some of your other stuff to get involved. But yeah,
what I also quite like as well is if they do have something that can kill it turn 1, just pull it off turn 1, bring it in turn 2.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Somewhere else, and then the pressure of 6 bikes is a lot.
It's a lot, and it's a slightly more. I think it works into a slightly wider range of things than Thunder can do, which is interesting.
Well, we had a chat about Thunder King and about how both of us have really kind of dropped the Thunder King from our lists.
I was going to say this because I also am not liking the Thunderkin anymore.
Yeah, I haven't run them for a couple of months now. Really.
I like Berserkers over Thunderkin.
I love Berserkers.
That's what I'm saying. It's the Berserker life.
Yeah. James, you were right. You've changed my mind and opinion. You did it. It's a hard thing to do. But you did it. So yeah, no, I fully agree. I think, especially with like how things like the WCW have like basically confirmed about the whole Grim Demeanor thing. You can't do it on the gun, and like that was like sort of, and also the meta as it stands at the moment. I just don't think there's a place for Thunderkin, sadly.
I mean, it's rough into a lot of matchups trying to get that 18-inch range.
Yeah, and trying to bring them to bear before it's already all kicking off. I feel like a lot of matchups are kicking off first round now. Stuff's coming right at you. If you're like, oh well, by the end of my turn 2, the Thunderkin might be somewhere. Yeah. You're like, that's
maybe turn 3, and then
it's too late. Yeah, can't get the space. And that's with the Berserks. The lovely thing, Berserks in a Sagittar, they just boop up the board. They've got that lovely. You can have one squad of 5 covering every medal objective, and you're just saying, go on, put something valuable on that. And some angry little men will come and hit it, and that's how that's going to go. And they give you that back and forth trading that you don't want to use Hearthguard for most of the time.
It feels so horrible when you're using Hearthguard for that.
Yeah, if you're trading Hearthguard into like a 200, 300 point unit, you're like, this still doesn't feel good.
No.
And Berserks with Warrior Pride just decimate big things.
It's horrific, isn't it?
absolutely. I'm sad they never got to go into the monolith. Because me and James were both like, he was like, I know what you were going to do. I can see you were going to do it, but they never even got to get involved. The poor thing.
That is actually quite sad.
It's really sad. That was their moment to shine.
Mm.
But yeah, so I was impressed with. And Space Gandalf, the Grimnir, he's very fun. I still play tactical with Votann. He's very fun for scoring cards because you just wait and then he turns up in a corner somewhere and starts like signals or homers or getting the movement, the positioning ones. And a lot of armies just really resent having to deal with him twice. It's really obnoxious. He's very annoying if you put him in the right place. And it just means people don't want to shoot him, which means you just keep shooting for most of the game. I think he was one of the survivors in the Drukhari game. He was like the last lad.
Yeah. Other than the 5 Hearthkins sat behind the
yeah, so I did have my backfield. I think that was it pretty much. Gandalf and the Hearthkid. I think did James still have his Archon? No, the Archon. You were there. The Archon rolled a 1 on his first invuln, as he always does.
It is.
But he passed at like 8 out of 10 saves.
He almost made it anyway, and then got.
Right.
It was unbelievable. I think that's interesting. How that game goes if the Archon hangs on. Yeah, no. So it's a good event, and I think it's still an index where you can experiment with lots of different things. I mean, that said, what we're now going to do is give you, the listener, some advice. If you're starting Votann right now, what do you need? As people go into Christmas, Votann obviously got some boxes out there. People are obviously interested in the army. Where do you think people should start, boys? What would you suggest?
I think it's probably quite cliche, but that combat patrol, especially like we've just highlighted, you get 10 warriors in there, the bikes, the berserkers, and a Carl.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. And then probably from there, I'd probably say like a few boxes of maybe like another box of warriors, another maybe like 2 boxes of Hearthguard, just so then you have that brick. And then you're pretty much nearly the way there. I mean, it's just really about adding what you've already got from that box, right?
Yeah,
it's really interesting because our friend Joe's just started Votann, and he bought 2 combat patrols and 2 Christmas boxes.
That was also a way to do it. That's pretty good as well.
That is it, right? That's all you need.
That's like 2 land forts, 4 Sages.
2 land forts, 2 Sages,
bunch of
20 Hearthguard.
Yeah, 20 Hearthguard.
2 champions, and then 2 Grimnir. Obviously, you're not going to run 2 Grimnirs. Maybe 1. No.
Well, we could have Gandalf and Saruman.
Yeah. Something I want to do with my Grimnir is he's got red robes, right? But I want to paint a white robed Grimnir, and when he dies, I want to bring the white robed one on and be like, he's back again.
Yes, he's back. The bloody Balrog.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean that combination of the Christmas box with the combat patrol is so good. I think
so you can get. I mean, I know there's a few still flying around at the moment. You can get a hand on that Christmas box. It's amazing value. But 2, it's got everything you want that's good in Votann in one box.
Yeah.
Because the killer things are Hearthguard are amazing, so get some Hearthguard. You want some bikes and berserks for just utility. And then the army needs transports, right? So it's forts, sabotage. You need those, and I think some combination of those with the characters. And Thunderkin, as we've talked about, we've gone off Thunderkin in very specific situations, like in sort of competitive play. But Thunderkin in general is still a great unit that you can use in all sorts of games. It's just sort of if you're optimizing, you might not make them.
Like hobby wise as well, they're a bit of a, they're different sort of, like having the Votann range, there's not a lot of it, but what you do have is very different sort of modelling opportunities.
What I would like to try with Thunderkin is running a couple of small units with bolt cannons.
Okay, do it.
And starting them on the board with the 36-inch range.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good shout. Like you said, because you can, you can just wait for something to come in and blang. And
it gives you an Overwatch threat for a channel, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, and I think that AP1's a bit more relevant in your opponent's turn when they can't like AOC and things like that.
Exactly that.
Yeah. So maybe they go on top of that big building, James, get some plunging fire going on. We need to try 6 Thunderkin bolt cannons on top of that building. I want to see it. I want to see it. Because it's like Scourge, except they hop up and they're like, and that's us. That's us done now.
For Thunderkin, they're spending like the whole game trying to get up that building, but like you just start them on top.
Yeah, you just start them on like the rung just below. They hop up. Go, maybe that's worth trying. I think that might be worth trying. They are still incredibly cheap for what they do, Thunderkin.
Well, I mean, 5 points a model, right? I mean, it's T6, 3 up safe, 2 up, 2 up with cover. Obviously not proper 2 up, but
completely.
Yeah, like we are like poo-pooing on them, but they definitely are not bad. It's just I think for us as players, we've found something a bit better for us. I think.
Yeah, I think as well that the meta shifted a little bit, where being able to bring in a unit with an 18-inch range of something, a vehicle generally you want to shoot, is a lot more typical turns, 2, and probably turn 3.
Yes,
they're quite a big chunky thing to bring in. They're quite easy to screen out.
Yeah,
completely.
Like it's a very linear play. Like Thunderkin come in, they shoot, they kill it, and then you leave the Thunderkin alone.
Yeah,
it's quite easy to play around.
Yeah, that's it, and that's where some of the other units, like the bikes, if you do leave the bikes alone, they will pick themselves up and go and come and find you somewhere else, which is something Thunderkin cannot do. So what we need in the data slate is Thunderkin to get the ability to go back into reserve.
That's what we need.
Maybe actually army-wide.
Army-wide.
Site-to-site, transport, teleportation, whatever it used to be called.
Like the Necron one.
Everything. Everything can go off a board edge and come on somewhere else.
Like the Necron one, that's what we
want. That seems reasonable. I think that's very reasonable. Yeah. James, do you want to talk a little bit about your game? Obviously, you were testing. You've not been able to play a much, but you've got a very high-quality game in against Melo and his Chaos Space Marines.
So I had those 2 games against Marines. Did win those 2. Plasma receptors are as terrifying as they look.
They are
horrific. But Dom, practicing for Leicester, obviously he was like, man, he's taken this list. He's done really well with it. I can see why he does really well. Dom's list is a lot more kind of shooty, the shooty CSM, the Blitzers, Forge Fiends, all the usual stuff. He runs some really cool little elements, like I think he runs 3 units of Warp Talons.
Yes,
and are horrific to deal with because one unit pops out, does its thing, can't fall back, you kill it. Next unit pops out, and it's a pain.
They're very good into Votann, actually, Warp Talons. Yeah, they just get the jump on you and they hurt you a lot. Yeah,
and
twin links.
So he's choosing the list he's kind of been practicing with and playing with for a while, and then all going with Manny's list, which we saw Manny does with it. It scores incredibly well. You go fixed, you take clench, take deploy, teleport, homer. You throw everything up the board in the middle, and you score all your points in turns 1 to 3.
Yeah.
So he wanted to stress test it. I wanted to stress test a slightly different Votann list without Thunderkin, and no, with Thunderkin, but testing whether the Thunderkin were like that. This was the game I was like, if the Thunderkin don't do that well, I'm going to take them out.
And you're like a cursed brick, so you're like, surely this is not the thing, right?
and I was like, they're going to start on the board. We're playing Dawn of War, Scorched Earth. So I was like, they're going to start right in the middle in that nice little L blocker, and then they're going to pop out and they're just going to sit there. They'll see everything. And the problem is you can play around it, which is what Dom did. So he threw all 3 big units of Cursed, like L blocker, L blocker, L blocker. And the Thunderkin were like, well, we can't see anything. So I guess we'll just...
That's the thing. With good terrain sets, you can just be screened so hard.
And then the Forge Fiend came in and picked up half the unit. So I was like...
Okay, just going from bad to worse here.
Yeah. Even though I can shoot, I've given the Forge Fiend 2 judgment tokens. He's 36 inches away. So I can't even shoot it back.
Oh, mate.
So, they did a little bit more. They killed a few cultists, and they then kind of took a cursed cultist charge. But the thing I will say about this kind of CSM list, it is terrifying to look at turn 1.
Oh yeah,
there are so many bodies, and you're just like, every single one is the same. You don't know how you're going to deal with one of them, let alone 3 of it.
Yeah,
but Rhino's full of kind of really, really fighty
2 squads, doesn't it? Like Legionnaires and Chosen.
Legionnaires who are really fighty on objectives, which is there's 3 objectives in front.
Yeah.
So you're like, how do I deal with this? And you can't see the rhinos because the way UKTC terrain works.
Yeah.
The rhinos are super easy to hide, so you
Yeah.
can stage those chosen and Chaos Marines really well. And then he's going into turn 2. He's got 7 points on secondaries turn 1. I think 7 points on turn 2. He's got as much primaries as he can get on Scourged Earth turn 2. So I'm kind of thinking, I need something big here. Here's come down 10 Hearthguard.
Yeah.
Picks up half of one accursed unit and a whole, I think, bar one dark cultist guy.
Okay.
The characters.
Oh my word.
So I killed 23 of one unit and about 15 of the other. So I killed 2 guys one way. I think I did the double sustain strat.
Yep. Yep.
Rolled like 4 6s on the 2 that had gone one way, and was like, well, that's enough. And then the rest of the other 5 Hearthguard I had picked up the rest of the second accursed unit.
Oh my word.
The big 10 or 11 man block of Hearthguard made the charge into the fort field and killed that.
Nice.
And then I was like, well, I've dealt with this quarter of the board. He's got 5 Legionnaires and 5 Chosen left in a Rhino. And I've got 5 Hearthguard, a land fort, 3 bikes, another 3 bikes I can bring in. So this half of the board is mine.
Yeah.
The other half of the board with the Thunderkin is not looking amazing. By the time the 3rd unit of Occultists come in, I've still got 4 or 5 Hearthguard left, and they do absolutely amazing into those blobs.
But yeah, I said the accursed CSM builds, Hearthguard just chew through them.
It's just, I mean, and I played them the last RTT I went. I played into the CSM accursed heavy build, and 5 of them picked up a whole 24-man squad.
Wow!
It was just the double sustain strat. You pop out the land fort shoot first. You hit on 2s, reroll. Hit on 2s, wounding on usually 2s.
2s for the Vulcanite, 3s for the rest, but with 4 rerolls. Yeah.
It's not even close.
Yeah. Do you think, is there a case to be made, James, that we only need 5s at Hearthguard at this point rather than 10?
Honestly, I've been really struggling with it because the 10-man block is really, really good. It's such, you bring it down, it's a hammer. But I do wonder whether it's too much of is it a sledgehammer when we only need a normal hammer?
Yeah. I sometimes think this.
I do like the 5 in the land fort.
Yeah.
And
but
I think...
I'm running 2 with 5 in now.
Yeah.
Sure.
For sure. No, I like that as well. I think
you're still running the same amount of Hearthguard. It's just purely how you've configured them is different. So you're still running 10, but it's 2 5s, right? Or...
No, so I'm running 20 now.
Oh, sick. Okay.
I was running 15, so I was running the big block of 10 and then the unit of 5 in one land fort, and then 5 Berserks and 5 Hearthkin in the other. So I've kind of dropped them out of the other land fort. So then it's 2 units of 5 and then a big unit of 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes a lot of sense.
Because I dropped the Thunderkin. By dropping the Thunderkin and the Ironmaster, I've kind of put back 5 Hearthguard and then Space Gandalf.
Yeah. Space Gandalf. Make it a thing. Get out there and use Space Gandalf, people.
Hashtag Space Gandalf.
Space Gandalf is life. He's super. It actually started because I went to a narrative event that John Scrivens was running, and I just took a bit of everything and just had a bit of fun with it. And I put him in, and I was like, well, he's going to be the warlord, and he's going to have to get back up again, and we'll just see how he gets on. And he was amazing. He was just really fun. And I was like, I'm just going to keep trying this. It's great.
But it was a good game. I think it's but by kind of that turn 3, we kind of knew the Votann had it. Because then he just ran out of kind of those assets to score his secondaries and continue holding the primary. Yeah. And it's interesting that Manny didn't actually come into any Votann.
Yes.
So maybe if he did,
I know he was very worried about Votann when he submitted for the Invitational. Because actually I designed my Votann list thinking, because I knew kind of where people were thinking at the time. And I was like, Necrons and Hordes, and people were very this will be the thing. And obviously, I think if Votann have a role in the meta, it's that if your game plan is ask if they can kill a thing, they will kill the thing. That's that's the thing. If you put a Horde there, they'll kill it. If you put a great big vehicle there, they will kill it. They're very good at that. What they're less good into is the really speedy, sneaky, dynamic stuff that can hit them before they can hit it and all this stuff. But as soon as artillery, that's really good, lots of fun. So it's an interesting one. But I know he was definitely concerned about it. So I do think Votann like the Horde lists.
Which is where I think the meta is going to be interesting if they do nerf Aldari very hard. Yeah. CSM and Votann kind of where they are. I can see them both kind of going above that 55%.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Hmm.
I hope they
No, I
don't
like
leave
it.
CSM and
No,
Votann. They need to do something.
I think Chaos Marines is a weird one because I think I don't know about you guys, but like I do think they just get solved with points.
I think
Probably.
maybe because if you stop the amount of stuff they can take, so then they can't take 3 Forge Fiends. Like you go the shooty list, you can't take 3 Forge Fiends, you can't take all the Obliterators, you can't take all the Screen. Well, you have to drop one of them. So you drop
Yeah.
the Fiend, and then you're not doing anywhere near as much as you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I don't want the index to lose its flavour because I think marks are amazing. I think they've got this incredible rule set, so I think they should.
That's what I
still
mean.
be
Like
they've got to be damage kings, right? That's what they're about. So
yeah, like I just don't want as many of them. Like,
I think that's it, generally, because there's nothing in there like you could say Forge Fiends in a blitz maybe just because of the amount of raw damage they can do.
Yeah,
There's nothing in there that's too flashy and too like Wraith
about like Lords and
we
Chosen.
talk
and
about
that,
it in
they're
our
quite
team, and I'd quite like. I think the one rules change that might help would be make that Mark of Nurgle strat infantry only, like they did with Phantasm.
good.
So that you can't have rhinos and Forge Fiends that are like basically up the board, but you can't actually interact with them unless you get really close.
Or make it 2 CP.
Or make it 2 CP.
Yeah.
They blew my mind when he was like, "Oh, it's 1 CP," and I'm like, "But you."
What?
Crazily powerful, right?
Bear in mind, like when we played in Ninth, the Death Guard one was 3 CP.
Yeah, and CSM used to have something like it, didn't they? And it was 2 CP back in the day with the old possessed bomb. I remember those days.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, only actually a few years ago, but it all moves so quickly, doesn't it?
It does.
Right.
Especially when they mix it up every 6 months.
Those are our main talking points for today. I'm going to briefly give you a little bit of Votann lore because I know you've all been holding on for that, and then we're going to leave.
Same as I'm here.
This was some lore. This was some lore that I looked up when I was writing the lore for my little old warband that were going into battle for this narrative event, and it's the story of the Mad Core. So sit yourselves down, get ready for the story of the Mad Core. So the Mad Core is a Votann, so that's the big computery thing that they all spend their lives serving, that once served the Emberg Anya Block League. That's a league that's now deceased. And it was destroyed by a tendril of Hive Fleet Leviathan. And it's a very sad story because basically what's happened is that Hive Fleet ships attack the hold that this Votann, this core, ancestor core is in. And the Kindred are like, oh no, they're going to eat the core. We've got to go and defend it. And they all die on the line and get murdered by the Tyranids. And obviously the sad truth is Tyranids don't give a shit about an ancestor core because it's not biological. So they leave it alone. So they eat the entire league, eat everybody there, and then leave the core behind. But the core is sort of aware of this and is processing their kind of pain and suffering. And that unfortunately means that it goes a bit mad. It's a bit loopy now. It doesn't really work properly, but it's still out there somewhere, waiting to be recovered and restored. But that's a nice little 40k story for you.
That's quite sad, though.
Typically, it is sad, right? And it's the irony of the situation that they think they have to save it, but actually, it's them that the Tyranids would eat, not the.
They could have just left it. And they wouldn't have cared.
They'd left it
everyone's fine
and run away. The Nids would have gone. Yeah,
and then they come back off.
That's a nice.
It shows how dedicated they are, though. Bless them,
exactly. They care
little
about
bin-lid head people.
Yeah, they take their ancestors very seriously, don't they? You know, they don't back down from things. Yeah. Although why they're leadership 7, that's one for another day. I don't really understand. dwarves at leadership 7.
That's how they all look like bin lids.
Yeah,
they all look like little bin. They look like the little Among Us people.
They do actually. Yes.
Yeah, that's why.
That's
when I started doing my, maybe you could do it as a kill team, right?
Yes.
But when I started painting my league's Votann like yellow, my mate he used to play 40k, doesn't anymore, keeps up with all the lore and everything, just sent me just kept sending me the Among Us photo, and I'm like, I can't unsee this, Jay, why have you done this to me?
Among Us, that takes me back to a time in life.
The lockdown era.
Oh, the lockdown era, yeah, absolutely. Might have to get the 6 of us to play Among Us, that'd be quite fun.
I'm well down if you want.
Yeah, I'll
guests.
come get involved. Come get involved. Fuck TTS leagues. Let's have an Among Us league online. Get everyone in the Discord playing Among Us. That'd be great.
Everyone just shouting at Chris because he plays Eldar.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, poor Chris. He does come into some heat. Right, guys. I'm going to scoop because I've actually got to be reappearing back for the main show at 8:30, where we'll be talking about the shooting phase and how you can get through that without screwing everything up. Put judgment tokens on it. That's what I'm going to say. That's going to be my general bit of advice. But James, thank you very much for being on. Obviously, we'll work out whether there's anything exciting for us to talk about before Christmas time. But if not, we'll be back in the new year when I guess it will be all go and all change. So we'll let you guys know. Wonderful.
Yeah, January is the next slate, isn't it?
That's exactly it. That's when it will get spicy again.
You can always do like a year in review, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be good fun. Something festive. Like Christmas themes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you all again next time. Bye-bye.